What up, this is Patrick Hayes. In this video, I want to talk about why self-forgiveness is wizard shit and why you should really be paying attention to how you talk to yourself, how you view yourself, and how hard you are on yourself. Because very commonly, the number one block that is blocking people from really being able to level up is the fact that they're not forgiving themselves. Even if they have a lot of aspirations to become a great person, oftentimes what gets in the way is the fact that they're too hard on themselves. So I'm gonna explain through this video how to be a wizard by forgiving yourself and what actually happens, and explain some of the process of what leads us to this place where oftentimes we might feel blocked or unable to make it to the next level due to a lack of self-forgiveness. So really quickly, what happens on the path of developing yourself very often is we start judging ourselves. And the reason for this is that if we are wanting to be a better person, right? When we make the decision like, I'm going to better myself, then we're simultaneously having to judge ourselves in some way. Because in order for us to have an idea of something that's better than what we've already experienced or who we already are, then we have to be, in a sense, kind of judging who we are right now in comparison to who we could be. So the aspiration to become a better person goes hand in hand with judgment. But it's all about how we manage this judgment that actually gives us the capacity to take that image of what we could be and really move towards it, or fall into the trap of judging ourselves for not being it and holding ourselves back. So when we have whatever breakthrough that we have in whatever area it is, where we realize, wait a second, there's a major window for improvement here. I see that I'm limited in this particular way and I would like to be fill in the blank. When we find ourselves in that situation, this is a reason to celebrate, because if we've made it to this point, then we're actually exercising a new level of awareness, becoming aware of whatever the fault is, and we're exercising a certain level of self-honesty. We're willing to be honest with ourselves about whatever our faults are. Now, previous to this, oftentimes the trap that people get stuck in is a trap of denial. They're denying their faults because they're not willing to look at the ugly face of what they could potentially be. And then oftentimes they defend whatever their fault is as an attempt to keep their ego in check so that their ego doesn't feel like they're lesser than the image that they thought of themselves as. So the point at which we're able to be honest about what's actually going on is actually something to celebrate. Now, the issue is that oftentimes what happens is on the path of self-development, when we are starting to be willing to be honest with ourselves about things, that a lot of things start coming to the surface. We start becoming aware of a lot of issues, a lot of shortcomings that we have. Our awareness grows immensely, and this can oftentimes be like crumbling for our self-image, right? We can start to really judge ourselves because now we're starting to become aware of all these flaws that we were in denial about before. And as a result, it can really slow our momentum down or take us out at the knees because we don't really feel like we're worth anything anymore. And this is a dangerous trap because, it's, in one sense, it's honorable because we're willing to look at our faults. But in another sense, when that's overdone, it really debilitates us. And this is why self-forgiveness is really that wizardly transformation key, because we're gonna need to look at our faults if we want to become better people. We're gonna need to become honest with ourselves and be willing to take responsibility for our shortcomings. This is part of growing. So being forgiving to yourself for whatever those shortcomings are actually become the medicine that gives you the ability to stay high vibe. Because when you start judging yourself, when you start spinning in your faults, that is like glue. It sticks you. And this is a really, really common thing for people that are willing to be self-honest. A lot of people have all the confidence in the world, but they're not being honest with themselves. So their confidence is coming from this delusion that they're this grand person that doesn't make mistakes, right? And you can see when people are inconsistent, when they have confidence, but they're kind of like a bull in a china shop. They knock stuff over. They're not like conscientious. They're not aware of all these flaws that they have. They have these missing gaps in their consciousness, but they have all of the confidence in the world. And this is not what we want to be like. We want to be honest with ourselves. But the truth of the matter is that, everybody's got a lot of shit. And so in order for us to be honest with ourselves it requires courage, because we have to look at all those things that are not that pretty, right? We have to look at all the ugly things that might be going on inside of us. So the key here is to remember to forgive ourselves in this process. So you know deep inside of you that what you want to do is you want to be your best person. This is why you're even willing to look at your flaws. You want to be a better person, right? You have an idea of who you could be. You can see that, right? And you see that you're not that now. Well, the best way of doing that is not by beating yourself up over your flaws. It's about becoming aware of your flaws, but then forgiving yourself for those flaws and then moving towards the goal. If you don't forgive yourself, it keeps you in a low vibration, a stuck vibration that's actually more in harmony with the flaws that you're upset that you have. And so if you're in this low vibration, you might be able to see the flaw. You might think that maybe by focusing on the flaw, you're going to make it better. But actually, by lowering your vibration, you're creating less opportunity for you to be able to shift into the higher vibration. So the key is to be aware of the flaws, but forgive yourself for them. It's as simple as this. When you get down on yourself, when you beat yourself up over making a mistake, that lowers your vibration and it makes you more prone to more mistakes and being stuck. When you forgive yourself for making a mistake, you learn how to laugh at it. You learn how to not take yourself so seriously, but actually forgive yourself. Then you raise your vibration. The stickiness of the mistake is less sticky, and then it's easy for you to gear your direction more towards the kinds of expressions and the kinds of embodiments that you are intending to embody. And actually, the process of forgiving yourself for all your flaws gives you the capacity to forgive other people. And this is how you really become a powerful being. Because when you're no longer resisting the idea of your flaws, but actually you're realizing that at the core you were innocent. You didn't know any better. You developed whatever patterns you developed due to the sickness of the world, the sickness of the people that you're surrounded with, or just innocence. You didn't know any better. So there's no point in beating yourself up over it. When you realize that, and then you actually love yourself, knowing that deep down somewhere your true self had good intentions, and when you love that true self that had good intentions but got mixed up, then that actually gives that broken part of yourself, that flawed part of yourself, the love that it needs to grow into something better. And when you're able to do that for yourself, then you start being able to do that for other people. And then you become a really, really powerful healer for other people. Because when you can forgive yourself, then you can forgive others. And that's really how it works. Some people will tell me that they're really hard on themselves, but they are a lot easier on other people. But the truth of the matter is that they were to really look deep inside themselves, they may be externally behaving like they're not judging other people for whatever their flaws are, or they're not being hard on those other people for their flaws. But the thing is they're just more sensitive to their own judgment. So when they judge themselves, it hurts more, so they don't notice it. So maybe they don't hold it against these other people because they don't have to be so close to that person all the time that it doesn't aggravate them the same way that their own flaws aggravate them. But if you're not actually being accepting of yourself, then you're not actually being accepting of other people. And this is something that's really, really deep. When you learn how to love yourself and forgive yourself, then you truly do develop the capacity to love other people and forgive other people. And then you develop way less resistance with your reality. Because when you make a mistake, it doesn't knock you down forever. It doesn't beat you down to a pulp, right? You can jump right back up because you forgive yourself. Like, it's all good. Actually, I'm not going to get shaken up from this. And same thing with other people. When somebody else lets you down in some way, you don't like drill it into them. You don't get really upset with them, or you don't like say behave kindly but have this essence of resentment towards them, because you've learned how to forgive yourself. And so then it's easy for you to see that innocence in that other person that led them to the expression in a flawed way that they're expressing. So forgiving yourself is absolutely key, because otherwise your faults and the faults of other people will haunt you. They will haunt you forever. And you're never going to feel peace because you're always going to be frustrated that you're not where you would like to be. So forgive yourself. It's all good, right? As long as you have the intention and you're doing your best to be better, then celebrate that. You're going to make mistakes, and that's part of the path, right? Everybody has flaws. So celebrate those flaws, because this is actually a stepping stone. This is the path, right? You're always going to have flaws. No matter what point you get to, there's always going to be a higher point to go to. So if you don't start celebrating the flaws now, then you're going to keep yourself stuck at whatever point that you're at. If you do celebrate the flaws in the sense that you appreciate the intention and you celebrate the fact that you're becoming more aware, you're being more self-honest, and then you forgive yourself for whatever space that you're in, that lightens up your energy and it's a lot easier to move upwards. And then it's a lot easier to appreciate other people too. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Patrick Hayes. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. This video would be useful for somebody you know. Please share it with that person. I would really appreciate that. And I'm super excited to continue sharing content with you. So thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time. One love.